Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Dave Meyer, and I'm going to be your host today for today's webinar, which is the 90-day challenge. And I am super excited for all of you to be here because today's webinar is all about how to get your first or your next property, maybe if you have a few already, in the next 90 days. And I know if you're new to real estate investing, this time frame of getting a property in just 90 days may seem difficult. And if you're skeptical, I understand that, but I have to tell you, I've actually given this webinar before. I have done it in years past, and I know from experience that this thing works. I have seen people from all experience levels, people who barely know anything about real estate investing, go from that to their first property in 90 days after listening to the very webinar that you are watching right now. So I'm very excited to give this webinar because I think it's super powerful. I'm excited for you to be here because there is no better way you could be spending an hour if you want to take control of your finance and to actually start investing in real estate. And I personally have lived this in some ways. I've personally become financially free with the help of real estate investing. And I've seen thousands of people over the course of my career at BiggerPockets do it. And so I know for a fact that anyone who's willing to take action, step up, and take on this 90-day challenge can do the same thing. And that's what we're going to do today. You're probably wondering, how does the 90-day challenge work? Well, the first thing we need to do is learn the 3 key steps for successfully finding, analyzing, and funding great long-term rental properties. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing is to get you quote unquote buy ready by the end of this webinar. And maybe some of you already feel buy ready. That's great. I hope that's the case. But I'm guessing that a lot of people, if you're watching this webinar, are more buy interested, like you want to get into real estate investing, but you're maybe not ready yet to pull the trigger. Well, by the end of this webinar, you will be ready. You will be buy ready within 90 days. Third, we're going to talk about roadblocks, and I'm sure that you've heard or have some self-doubt about getting into real estate investing, and you feel these roadblocks like they're preventing you from getting started. And there are some roadblocks, but I found that if you address them, if you talk about them, if you identify what they are, then it's actually kind of easy to move around each of those roadblocks. So we're going to get into that as well. And lastly, I'm going to give you a live on-screen demonstration of a lot of the tools that I use and resources that I use that are going to make this entire process of investing in real estate easier than I bet you think is possible. These are tools that I use almost every day to find properties, analyze deals, and I really think they're going to work for you as well. So I'm going to show you those. We also have a very special something for all of you. At the end of this presentation, I am going to make a special invitation offer to all those who want help getting your first property by using the right tools, by building the right team. And we'll get more into that later, but just know that there's a special offer coming at the end of this webinar. Now, before we jump into the details of the 90-day challenge, I kind of want to just set the scene here for a minute and take a step back and talk about the importance of why we're here and what you're doing right now. Now, if you're here today, I'm guessing you probably know that having your own investment properties, it would be pretty impactful for you and the lives of your loved ones. Perhaps you're in it for the cash flow. That's a reason I think probably most investors get into it, is to generate that cash flow. Or maybe you want the tax advantages that real estate offers a lot of, and trust me, there are great tax advantages. Or maybe you're looking for the security that comes with passive income, just knowing that you're going to get a rent check month after month like clockwork. Or perhaps you're in it for the equity, getting big chunks of cash that only real estate can really provide. But whatever it is, cash flow, tax advantages, passive income, I find that those 4 ways of generating money through real estate are important, but they're usually a means to an end. Well, at least they are for me. Like, it's not really about cash flow for me. It's about sort of the next step. What can cash flow and tax advantages get me? And it's usually something more important and something more powerful, like financial independence and the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you are financially secure, even if something happens to your job or something unfortunate happens. Maybe you're in it to create generational wealth and sort of change the trajectory of your entire family tree. Or maybe you want to build a financial fortress so you can feel secure about your finances no matter what happens. Or perhaps you're just looking for what I consider true freedom, which is being able to spend your time the way you want and not even having to make decisions about your life based on money. Whatever those reasons are, they're great. And I hope that you know that real estate is a very powerful way to achieve these financial goals. And before we jump into the 90-day challenge, I want you to just take a second to think about how it would actually feel to be financially free. And what would you do with that freedom? It would change everything, right? Like, it would be incredible to have that feeling of financial independence and security that real estate can offer. So the question is, if you know that, what's holding you back, right? It sounds amazing. So why isn't everyone investing in real estate? Well, that comes back to those roadblocks and the reservations that I was just talking about. And I know many of you probably have reservations about getting started on your real estate journey. I often hear perhaps that you don't feel like you have enough money to get started. That makes sense. A lot of people think that, but the truth is that you can take actionable steps right now, today. We're going to help you with that to build your savings and connect with the right people for funding. Or maybe one of the roadblocks you feel is that you're afraid of losing everything. Well, that makes sense until you understand that analyzing deals and picking good deals is really just following a simple framework that tons of other investors like me and thousands of others have used before you. Or perhaps you just lack confidence. Yeah, that makes sense if you've never done this before, but today, I'm going to teach you how to analyze deals and how to build out the processes that you need to be a successful investor. And I know all of these feelings well because I had them too. Like, trust me, I know I am well into my career, but when I was just getting started, I had many of these same reservations. But 14 years after I got started, I did it. I actually did it a few years ago, but I'm sitting here, talking to you 14 years later, telling you that I did it and that I am definitely not special. I don't have any information that you can't obtain. I don't have any special skills at all. What I did was follow some simple processes that other investors have paved the way for. So I use the right tools, I get the right education, and I surround myself by the right people. It's basically just those three things that have made me successful in real estate investing. Now, I was once a beginner in real estate, just like you. And you can see now I have some credentials that make me sound fancy. I host a podcast on the market. I just wrote a book that helps newbies get started in real estate called Start With Strategy, if you want to check that out. But I think most important for our conversation today is that my first deal, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had never heard of BiggerPockets. I didn't have a mentor, and I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants for many, many years. And I made tons of mistakes. But ultimately, I joined BiggerPockets and I found BiggerPockets, and it totally changed everything for me. I basically went from making things up to seeing that, hey, there are calculators that I can use. There are people that I know how to help me with every single problem that I'm facing. And that resource, these tools in this community completely changed my trajectory as an investor. And it can really help with you. I think BiggerPockets, I've worked here for 8 years, and I know that everything we do is about making resources for real estate investors to become successful. It has helped me, but honestly, my story is not really that unique. Recently, I was just fooling around in the BiggerPockets forums, and I came across this guy, Jason Velli, who said that he transformed his life using the 90-day challenge, the thing that you're doing right now. He replaced a 6-figure income with passive real estate income in just 3.5 years. And this story of Jason, is just one of many that you'll find in the forums. You can go find Jason or many other of these success stories in real estate. What I have learned, at least, and as Jason, it sounds like, has learned as well, is that it doesn't actually take that many properties to achieve financial freedom. In fact, it just takes the right properties. And with those correct, good deals, you can grow your wealth and live life on your terms in a relatively short time. This isn't something that has to be some far off goal. You can get started today and have a property in the next 90 days. And today, I'm going to prove it to you. And listen, this isn't magic. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's going to take work, but I think I can show you that if you break it down into these small, repeatable steps, starting today, you can get that deal in the next 90 days. So with that, let's dive into the 90-day challenge. So the first thing we got to do is talk about the 3 core steps for buying great long-term rentals. And as you know, there's tons of different options for buying investment properties like short-term rentals, medium-term rentals, fix and flips, BRRRRs, all of that. But today we're going to focus on long-term rentals because they're the most common strategy for BiggerPockets members, and they're great for pursuing long-term financial goals, which I always recommend. So the 3 core steps to buying great long-term rentals are number 1, finding deals, number 2, analyzing deals, and number 3, funding deals. So let's just break each of those steps down one by one. Step 1, finding deals. So we do these surveys from time to time at BiggerPockets just to understand what's going on in the community. And we have found in a recent survey that finding deals was the second biggest perceived challenge to investing in real estate, only behind funding, which we'll talk about funding in just a minute. But notice that I said perceived challenge because finding deals is not something anyone here needs to be overwhelmed by. There are tons of ways to find good deals. You could drive around looking for vacant properties. You can run direct mail campaigns. You can go to auctions. You could pay for prospect lists, or you could poke around on Zillow or Redfin or whatever. And those are good options. You can absolutely do those things, but they kind of take a lot of time and effort. And BiggerPockets can help you do it if you want to. But given that we're in a 90-day challenge and we're kind of on a time limit here, I want to tell you about the way I recommend for finding deals. I think it's the easiest and the most time effective. It's just working with an investor-friendly agent. Now, you're probably asking or thinking, I know agents, my aunt's an agent, my friend's an agent, something like that. But the key to finding good deals is not working with any agent, it's working with an investor-friendly agent. And the difference between any old agent and an investor-friendly one is that investor-friendly agents actually think like an investor. They understand that it's not about emotion when you're buying an investment property. It's about the numbers and whether the rent can cover your expenses and whether it's going to be in an area that appreciates. And investor-friendly agents will think like you and will be a better partner to you in finding deals. Investor-friendly agents are also local market experts because as an investor, you probably know that buying in the right neighborhood, buying on the right block is super important and will impact your performance, and you want an investor-friendly agent who knows about that. And lastly, and this is super important, they have to have a strong boots on the ground network to tap into. I recently, just in the last week or so, started investing in a new market, and I picked an agent that has a really good established network, and it's made it so much easier to invest in that market just knowing that I have a property manager that comes highly recommended, contractors, title company, all those things just ready to go because I have a great agent. So hopefully you understand that this is a great way to find deals, but you're probably wondering, how do you find an investor-friendly agent in the first place? Well, it could not be easier. All you have to do is go to biggerpockets.com/agent. You can type in a little bit of information about what you're looking for, like your budget, the place you want to invest, how much experience you have. And in just a minute or two, you're going to get matched with an experienced, proven investor-friendly agent completely for free. So you have absolutely no reason not to do it. It's a great way to get started. Start seeing a couple of deals because this is, again, the number one core step in the 90-day challenge of what you need to do to get that next property. So now that you do that and you have a time-friendly strategy for finding deals, we need to turn to step 2 of the process, which is analyzing those deals. And this is really important because even if you have a great investor-friendly agent and they're sending you a lot of leads, leads are not deals. When an investor-friendly agent sends you something, that's a potential deal, doesn't mean it's good. It's your job as the investor to take those leads and figure out, using analysis tools, which ones are the best for you and which one's right for your strategy. You basically have to understand which ones the numbers work for. And I'll just tell you something right off the bat that I think is important to know when you're getting started or looking for that next deal. About 99% of properties that you look at, even if you have great deal flow, are not really deals. 80% of homes that are purchased are for homeowners. They're not for investors. And so when you look at these things, you can't expect that every deal you look at is going to make sense on paper. You have to do the analysis, and this is some of the work that you have to do as an investor. You have to do the analysis to figure out which of these leads is best. And luckily, it's really not that hard, and you can actually do it quite quickly. And this is important because, like I said, if maybe you're looking for your next deal, your agent's going to send you 50 properties, and then you have to analyze 20 of them to get that one deal that you actually execute on. And that's normal. That's like a totally normal funnel process for finding a deal. But if you don't know how to analyze deals quickly, analyzing 20 of them could seem intimidating. But I'm going to show you right now that it doesn't have to be intimidating at all. In fact, I'm going to just do this right now. We're going to look at a deal together, and I'm going to analyze it basically in real time. Okay, so the key to our analysis is to use a good tool, and I'm going to show you the BiggerPockets tool. It's called the Rental Property Calculator. If you want to follow along right now or use this after this webinar, just go to BiggerPockets.com under the Tools tab. It's the first thing, just says Rental Properties. And there's basically 5 different parts of rental property analysis. We put in our property info, our purchase details, loan details, rental income, and expenses. And that might sound like a lot, but I'll show you that we can do this in like 3 to 5 minutes. So first things first, we got to pick a property, and we're going to use a deal that I just went on BiggerPockets and found earlier. It's a place in Cleveland. Cleveland is pretty well known to have good cash flow. So I don't really know anything about this deal, guys. I just looked it up to give you an example of how to analyze deals. I don't know if this is a particularly great deal, but that's the whole point. We're going to figure it out. So the first step is just to take the address, and I'm going to just literally copy and paste here, and I'm going to put it into the calculator. And then I'm going to, it's going to do that little drop down, and it's going to fill in some information here. See, it says importing property data. It's pulling in tax info, rent info, all that. If you want to, you can go on and add a photo, which you might want to do, which is pretty easy. You just literally upload a picture and put in the address. Next, we move on to purchase price. So I'm going to just assume for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to buy it for our asking price, which is $114,900, and our purchase closing costs are going to be $5,000. Now, if you've never bought a deal before, you might be wondering, how did you figure out purchase closing costs? Well, I've done a few deals before, so I know this, but if you ever need help using the calculator, you could just press this little help button over here, and it will give you some rules of thumb. Like this says, if you're unsure, use 1.5% of the purchase price. That's a good number to begin with. So I'm going to use $5,000. That's usually what it costs me, but it will help you out. So if you're just new to analysis, you can still do this. The cool thing about this calculator is it takes into account rehabbing a property. And I'm going to assume that we can, that we're going to need to put a little money into this property to make it up to good rental condition. And I looked through the photos. It actually looks nice, but I noticed that we need to refinish the hardwoods and the yard needs a little bit of landscaping. So I'm going to think $5,000. And that's going to get our price up to $125,000. So we're buying it at $115,000 basically. We're going to put in $5,000, and then it's going to get the property up to $125,000. So that's a good investment. So now we've done our first 2 steps, property info and purchase. Hopefully you guys can see how easy this is. Press the little button, net loan details. I'm going to put in information. I'm basically going to use the most common loan information here for real estate investors, 25% down. Most people put 20% down if they're owner occupying, like a house hack. But if you don't live in it, you usually have to put 25% down. So I'm just going to analyze as if it were me, and I'm going to use 25% down. Interest rates right now are about 6.75%, and the most common loan term is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So I'm going to do that. Again, if you have any questions, there are all these little help buttons that can help you out here. And now we're done with the third step. We're flying through this thing, and it's time to talk about rent. Now, BiggerPockets has done one of the hardest things in analyzing deals for us, which is estimating what the rent can be. Now, if you see here, you can see the median rent for this property is estimated to be $1,250 per month, and the confidence here is high. Now, if I was in a hurry, I could just go do this really quickly and just use that number. But I also want to show you guys how to use the rent estimator tool because it's really cool. So I'm going to go over and just copy. This is just another tool on BiggerPockets. So again, you can go into the tools tab and go to rent estimator. I'm showing you right here. Just go click that and then copy and paste the address in and just hit search address. It's going to think for a minute. And then it's going to pull a bunch of different comps for you. So you can see our target property is a 4-bed, 2-bath. And this tool is showing us a bunch of 4-bed, 2-baths. It's similar age in the same area. And you can see rent is $1,250, $1,350, $1,250, $1,550. And it's going to aggregate all that information and basically give you an estimate of the median rent, which is $1,250. And one of the things I think is really cool here is the tool tells you how confident it is. So like sometimes if you invest in a rural area or a high owner occupant area, there won't be good comps. And the tool will just say like medium confidence. And that way, you might have to call a property manager or do some additional research. But for us, we see this as high confidence. And so I'm going to feel comfortable using this estimate of $1,250 in our deal. So that's it. I'm going to hit next in expenses and we're moving on to the last step. Now, BiggerPockets has already done one of the hard things. It's brought in property taxes from public records. Super cool. So we know that's $744 a year. And before the recording, I looked it up. Insurance is going to be about $1,200 a year. So we're going to do that. Next, we look at what are known as our variable costs. So these are things like repairs and maintenance, vacancy, capital expenditures. And personally, I like to use about 5 to 8% for each of these. I'm going to use 5% on each just for ease of use here, guys. I'm just, going to go through this quickly to show you how to use it. If you were buying a deal, you might want to spend a little more time, but I think somewhere between 15 and 25% total for these three things combined makes a lot of sense. So maybe I'll just put vacancy up to 8%. So we're a little bit higher at 18%. Then management fees, because I am an out-of-state investor, I pay a property manager and I pay 8% on pretty much all of my properties right now. And so I'm going to use that 8% right here. And that's pretty much it. You'll notice that there is space here for utilities, but this house in particular is metered separately. So that means that for at least electricity and gas, the tenants are going to pay that themselves. As the owner, I pay $25 a month on most of my properties for water and sewer. So I'm just going to assume that's what I do here. Garbage is usually like $20 a month too. So I'll put that in and then we're done. We've done all 5 steps in like 5 minutes and I've just been talking a lot. If I was doing this for real, this probably would have taken me 2 or 3 minutes. All I got to do now is press finish analysis and I'm going to get my results. And what I could see here is that this just right off the bat, decent deal. $160 a month in cash flow. That's pretty good. And a cash on cash return of 5%. So that is good. That's typically about what I target. And so if I were an investor in Cleveland, I might make an offer on this property. But I want to show you something really cool here because perhaps your standards for cash flow are higher than mine. Maybe you want a 7% cash on cash return, and that's totally fine. The cool thing about this calculator is you can come down here and sort of change some of your assumptions. So perhaps you aren't comfortable with this and you think, I want to offer lower because I need that 7% cash on cash return. So then you go, okay, well, if I offer 105, then it's 6.8, so nearly 7%. So isn't that cool? Like you can go here and change your assumptions and say, okay, maybe this wasn't a deal. It wasn't right for me at 115, but I'll see if the seller can take 105 because that makes the deal work for me. Or maybe you're willing to pay full price, but the seller's willing to give you a rate buy down to say, 6.3%. That would help your ROI. So it's really cool because every property is a deal at the right number, right? It's really just a matter of if you can get it for that number. And using this tool allows you to see what numbers actually make sense. On top of that, you get to see all this other great information like your analyzed return, the profit you would make if you sold. So if this particular property, you would make over $190,000 if you held it for 20 years, and you'd make a great return any year. I just picked 20 years at a random. So hopefully you see how valuable this tool is. But I want to show you one last thing. If you are going to be sharing this with anyone looking for funding, you can hit this button called share, hit enable report sharing, and you can download a PDF. And it's this just super nice professional summary of the deal analysis that can be really helpful if you want to get your significant other on board, if you're looking for a partner, or you're looking for funding. So hopefully between this PDF and the great tool on the BiggerPockets website, you can see that deal analysis is really not that hard, but it is really important. So you need to get good at analyzing deal quickly. And hopefully this tool, this calculator, will help you do just that. Hopefully you guys see that deal analysis is something that you can do right now with the use of these tools. And you are through two of the key steps that we've talked about. You're getting leads hopefully from an investor-friendly agent or one of the other sources I talked about. And you have tools to analyze those deals. So we need to move on to our third step, which is funding deals. And there are, just like finding deals, there are a lot of ways to fund deals. You can get conventional loan, you can get a hard money loan or a private loan, you can use a partnership, and there's tons of other ways. And I want you to really think about this because I know most people, the number one roadblock, like I said, is that people think that they don't have enough money for a down payment. They don't know where to get funding. This is what our audience tells us is their number one challenge according to our surveys. But the truth is, what experienced investors know is that once you're able to find deals and analyze deals, getting funding actually becomes a whole lot easier. And I say this, and I structure this webinar actually in a specific order because this is how investing works. First, you got to get deal flow. Then you need to be able to analyze deals to pick the good ones. And then you go and find funding, right? Imagine if you were asking me for money and you came and said, hey, Dave, will you lend me money to invest in real estate? I'd say, okay, maybe. What deal are you doing? And if you said, I don't know, how could I possibly make a decision of whether I would lend to you when I don't even know what asset you're buying? Meanwhile, it would be a very different conversation if you came to me and said, Dave, would you invest in my property? And I said, what property are you buying? And you showed me a professional PDF that says, I'm earning a 7% cash on cash return. Here are the assumptions I put into my analysis. I know the math is right because I'm using these calculators. Then it will become much easier for me to make my decision. Now, I don't lend to people like that, but this is the way that lenders think. When you know how to find and analyze deals, your conversations with lenders are going to get a whole lot easier. So hopefully you understand that now and you have the tools and you know that once you get good at deal analysis, you'll be able to have a successful conversation with a lender. You're probably wondering, how do I find a good lender in the first place? Well, that too is very easy thanks to BiggerPockets. We have another free tool. It's called the Lender Finder. Just go to biggerpockets.com/lender, enter in information, and you'll get matched with a lender who understands what it takes to be an investor, understands the loan and mortgage products that are different than homebuyer mortgages. Investors use different types of loans a lot of the time. And so you want to find a lender that's going to understand those and help you navigate to the right funding choices for you. All right, guys, we've done the 3 core steps. Hopefully you see that this is not that hard, right? Core steps, just as a reminder, are finding deals, analyzing deals, and funding deals. And we've talked about all of them. We talked about finding deals with an investor-friendly agent and how you can do that for free. We talked about using the calculators on BiggerPockets to analyze a lot of potential deals until you find the right deal for you. And we talked about, lastly, once you have a good deal, talking to a lender about funding, and you can meet a lender for free on BiggerPockets. So I think we need to turn our conversation now from how do you do these things back to the 90-day challenge. Remember, the whole idea here is to get you that property in the next 90 days. And so the question is, now that you understand these 3 steps, are you willing to commit to spending just 15 minutes per day on these steps, 5 days a week for the next 90 days? And you don't need to spend like 15 minutes a day on each of these steps. Like one day it might be looking at 10 leads per day, or another day it might be analyzing 3 deals or talking to 2 lenders. That sounds doable, right? I think a lot of people, when they start thinking, how do I get into real estate? They see this big portfolio down the road, and that can be super intimidating. But if you actually break this down into just these small kind of bite-sized little pieces, like meet an agent, look through some leads, analyze some deals, it actually becomes almost comically simple, right? Like I just showed you in 20 or 30 minutes how you can do each of these things. And listen, you're probably not going to find your right deal on your first try, but if you keep doing this process over and over again for the next 90 days, I am confident, because I've seen it before, that you can actually get that next deal, get that first deal in just 90 days from now. I'm going to put up a quote here that I love from Jim Rohn. He says that life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change. And this is so true about real estate investing because this is not rocket science. I hope you can see that all the things I've shown you are not hard. And I won't lie, there are going to be challenges in your investing, but I just want to show you that this isn't hard. And the biggest challenge I think most people have is just getting started and making the changes in your life that allow you to spend those 15 minutes a day and committing yourself to the processes that I've talked about today. And I know if you're just getting started, because I was here too, real estate investing can feel like jumping off a cliff. Like you don't have a parachute and it's going to be this really risky thing and you're going to be all alone and so many different things can go wrong. But that's really not how it works. It's actually more like this. It's more like walking along a well-worn path with your friends. Real estate investing is something that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people just like you have done before, and they've established the path. They have built the tools. They have built the resources, and you can use them. And you can also tap into a community and ask people for help at any time. I know this because this is what we do at BiggerPockets. We build tools to help investors on their journey towards their financial goal. And it's not just theory. This isn't just some pie in the sky thing. This is how literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of real estate investors, including myself, have found financial freedom. So now at this point in the webinar, I'd like to ask you two questions. The first one is, are you excited? Because I hope you are, because these things, the things I've shown you today are not difficult, but they are so powered. So ask yourself, are you excited and committed to using real estate to obtain financial freedom? If you answered yes, consider the second question. Will you take the 90-day challenge? Will you commit to working on these 3 core steps, 15 minutes per day, 5 days per week for the next 90 days? Because if you can do those two things, if you answered yes to those two questions, you are going to find yourself in a totally different position 90 days from now. Now, I've done what I can to educate you and share with you the processes, but unfortunately, information is not enough to make you successful. As Derek Siever says, more information was the answer, we would all be billionaires with perfect abs. Or if you want to apply this concept to real estate, if more information was the answer, everyone would be financially free. Success is not about having more information. What is the key to success? It is action. It is getting out there and taking action. But it can't just be one day, one spurt of action. It needs to be daily, consistent action. My friends, if you listen to any investor, successful person, they will tell you success doesn't come because they are smarter or anything like that. Success is a habit. And that's why we designed the 90-day challenge, because if you spend this time day after day, you can be successful in real estate. Take it from Jason, another person I found in the webinar. He took this 90-day challenge and was able to lock up a small multifamily deal in Albuquerque for $300,000 as a result of taking the 90-day challenge. He found a great agent on BiggerPockets and got all the tools he needed using BiggerPockets Pro. And there are tons of other stories like this. You can find them all over BiggerPockets. And listen, everyone, I don't know exactly why you joined me here today. Perhaps you're tired of working your full-time job, or maybe you feel behind on your retirement, but you're ready to get started on it. Or maybe you don't want to be a wantrepreneur anymore and are ready to actually start building a business. All of these make sense, but I don't know which one of these apply to you. But what I do know is that real estate investing works if you work it. Like, you have to implement the things that we're talking about here. And our goal at BiggerPockets is to help you implement these things and reach your financial goals through real estate. That's why we at BiggerPockets have created all of these incredible tools and resources to help you get to your financial goals faster and with less pain. So with your permission, I'd like to take a minute now and make a special offer to you to upgrade your real estate investing toolbox with BiggerPockets Pro. BiggerPockets Pro has everything you need to succeed in real estate investing. Like, we've designed it that way. We make these tools, we give you all this content, build out the big community, and provide all these services to help you get to your next deal and achieve your long-term goals. And that looks like calculators, the rent estimator I showed you, the leases, and all these things can help you build confidence in those 3 steps we talked about. They're all oriented around finding deals, analyzing deals, and funding deals, because we know after doing this for decades that those are the things that make a difference for real estate investing. And if you're wondering how one subscription can really provide everything you need to start, scale, and manage your portfolio, let me show you. So first and foremost, it starts with this analysis tool. I just showed it to you. I'm kind of an analysis guy. I wrote an entire book about it, and I use these tools, these calculators, because it makes it so easy to analyze the quantity of deals that you need to be able to find those right tools. So that is sort of one of the bedrocks of Pro. Also, you get access to our boot camps 50% off. And this is an opportunity to get real, live, hands-on instruction from people like Ashley Kerr and Henry Washington, really great, successful investors who can help you elevate your business and meet those financial goals. Third, it allows you to supercharge your network. When you go pro, you get access to a much more serious group of investors. By being pro, you will be open to more networking opportunities, people will be more eager to answer your questions in the forum, and you will be taken very seriously by the thousands of experienced investors who regularly post and answer questions on the BiggerPockets forums. Fourth, you can build a landlord command center with BiggerPockets Pro. If you need property management software, like we all do, you get it for free as a pro from RentReady. Or if you want portfolio monitoring and accountant software, also get it free from Stessa. You want landlord-approved, lawyer-approved lease agreements, get those in all 50 states, which is worth like $5,000. You get that as part of Pro. So if you look at all of these things together, it creates this incredible value that helps you achieve your goals. And best of all, well, not best of all, sorry. And in addition to all the great value, it's actually tax deductible for a lot of people. So make sure to ask your CPA if you do go pro, if you can deduct the cost of pro from your taxes. Now, of course, all these features are nice, but the main reason I recommend people go pro is because it actually works. Take it from BiggerPockets Pro member Aaron C. He says, "There's no way I could analyze the volume of properties I do without being a pro member." See, Aaron gets it. You have to analyze a lot of deals, and these tools will really help you. Or take it from Beth, who says that Pro has been the foundation of her real estate investing endeavor. These are just 2 of many, many endorsements we get all the time. Jackie says it's a small cost for something that adds so much value. Martin says it's actually worth it and you can use it all the time. So you can see that people who go pro are very happy with it. And you're probably wondering how much Pro is. And if you added up all these little components that I've talked about, it would cost you over $5,000. And that's probably worth it, but it's a pretty big investment. But at BiggerPockets, that's not our mission. Our mission is to make real estate investing accessible. So we make all these amazing tools of Pro available for a reasonable price. Normally, Pro, if you pay for it, is $39 a month or $468 a year. But I told you I was going to help you out today, and here it comes. By attending this webinar, I can offer you 20% off our Pro membership, which makes Pro just $312 per year, which is savings of $156. So you definitely want to take advantage of this special offer, but there's way more to this offer. Actually, we're feeling very generous right now, and we're going to give you some additional help in your real estate journey. So if you go pro today, we're going to give you the Show Me the Money Starter Pack, which includes an ebook on eliminating debt and repairing your credit, a 9-hour low and money down workshop, and a worksheet to bulletproof your wealth plan. If you put all that together, it's worth like almost $500, and we're just going to give you that for free today if you go pro. We'll also give you the Demystifying the Housing Market bundle, which is worth more than $500, and I wrote a lot of this stuff. This is super valuable stuff. I made the 2024 State of Real Estate Investing Report, a guide to investing in a changing economy, which is super relevant right now, and a video on building scenario plans to help you in uncertain economic conditions. So you get all of that if you go pro today. The last bonus that we're going to offer is near and dear to my heart because I get to give you my book for free. If you go pro today, you get Real Estate by the Numbers written by me and the incredible Jay Scott to teach people all about deal analysis. And if you combine this book, the Excel files that come with the book, plus the deal analysis calculators from Pro, you're going to be in an incredible position to be able to analyze almost any deal that comes across your desk. And it's going to give you a lot of confidence to be able to pull the trigger on your next deal. So all those things together makes for a great value in Pro. And the best thing is, honestly, you can use it. Go upgrade to Pro today. Use it for up to 30 days. And if you don't like it, if you're not using it, we're going to give you your money back, 100% of it, no questions asked. I told you at BiggerPockets, our mission is to get people to that financial freedom. And if you're not using Pro, we don't want you to use it. We'd rather give you your money back so you can spend it somewhere else. So just as a summary, if you go Pro today, you're going to get a ton of value, a ton of bonuses. All the bonuses alone are worth like $1,700. But if you go Pro today, you're going to get Pro Annual plus all those bonuses for just $312. All right, so make sure if you want to go Pro today to use the code YTChallenge24. You just go to biggerpockets.com/pro and enter that code. Again, it's YTChallenge24. And by using that code, you're going to get all of the benefits that I just described, whether it's the starter packs, the discount, the housing market bundle. You get it all when you use the code YTChallenge24. Thank you all so much for watching this webinar. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any follow-up questions for me, you can always find me on BiggerPockets. I'm always on there answering questions and in the forums, and I'd appreciate anything you got for me there. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the community.